Hi Mike, thanks for the footage. The changes are starting to bed in nicely. I mean, you can see by the bucket of balls there that you're whacking, you're obviously keen to work at it. From a setup perspective, just a little tweak here from down the line. I'd like to see your eyes angled down a little bit more. So yours are angled more out, around what we see here with Charlie Wee, with the eyes angled down. That just keeps the ball in central vision, makes it a little bit easier for you to trace a downward path with the left shoulder and then the consequent inward path with the hands. So just a softening of the angle in the back of the neck. You can see there that the base of Charlie's neck is actually sort of flatter than the base of his back. With yourself, we've got the base of the back and the base of the neck on a very similar tilt. So a softening up of the eyes and the tilt of the eyes at address will be the first thing I would note there when viewing it from down the line. The difference in setup here from face on from when we first met is massive. There's a slight change from down the line. There's a little bit less bending of the knees. Consequently, the hip tilts are slightly different, but from face on, that's much better. Ball position more appropriate, foot flow is fantastic, weight's just that little bit forward. You can see there are a lot of similarities between yourself and the model we're using for when you visited, which was grab weight. Down the line backswings, I mean, I just put up the first swing that I ever filmed you make, and you can see club tracing the line, hands working up and out, rolling the club in, arms lifting to the top. Huge separation between the arms and the rib cage, a lot of knee flex being maintained there on the way back as well. And then when you compare that to what we see now, this is just chalk and cheese. It's a joke how much better this is. Club trace is an inward path, hands trace an inward path, trail leg is starting to extend or straighten as you do that. The hips are turning on a tilted angle, the arms stay on the rib cage. One of the things we talked about on your last visit was just palmar flexing or bowing that left wrist. You see much flatter with the left wrist, much more compact position at the top. Club face would appear shut slightly to some instructors, but bear in mind that's appropriate to one of the tendencies we have, which is to leave the ball out to the right too much. So we're just trying to put that club face in there early on, so if ever comments pass that you look a little bit shut at the top, as long as it's no more than that, then we're quite happy with it. Massive strides there from P1 to P4. You can see now the similarities between yourself and Charlie. This was some good footage that I found of Charlie on YouTube. Great bit of footage for you to keep. You can see there no rotation of accumulator 3, so the back of the left hand doesn't do anything. Then it starts to load. The legs are straightening and flexing. The arms are nailed to the rib cage, and then from there it's pretty easy to make an efficient downswing once you learn the correct pieces. One of the things we worked on was flexing forward with the right shoulder. Now what I would say is you could do with a little bit of work on that flexing forward drill. I think it was about your third lesson in when we talked about tidying up P4 to P5 and 6, and we talked about the effect of the right shoulder tracing a sort of downward and a round path. You can see your right shoulder still dropping down a little bit more than it's working around. So we've got the right shoulder about here now. So just a little bit of work on that, and one of the drills we used for that was just to hit a pull, a slight pull, stick the cane in the ground out in front of you. We don't want you pulling it, we like a little push draw, but if you're hanging them out right and overdrawing them, that's something that you can use to police that when you're at the range. So working that right shoulder down and around from the top, rather than what we're seeing here, which is a little bit more of a downward move from the top. So right shoulder just drops under a little bit too much, and then as we come through, the arms are thrown at it. Now, having said that, if we take a little look at the way the arms used to work, out in front, handle raising, right shoulder dropping as a vehicle to keep the club from coming excessively out to in, handle raising like there's no tomorrow, and then a huge flip of the hands, their impact. I mean, that's massively improved on what it was. So there's still a little bit of the old movement in there, and that's to be expected. You know, don't panic too much about that. The ball flight's obviously improving, that's the main thing. If we just run these swings through a little bit more You know, again, not a bad exit at that point. Could be a little bit lower. High exit, a lot of face rotation. Much less face rotation now. Run it through to the finish. Much more under control. Right foot banked in, a sign that you're not turning through the golf ball excessively. Much more balanced and in control. If we watch Charlie Way here, the right shoulder works down, gets back into flexion. 4 to 5. Gets the upper body further into flexion. 5 to 5.7, 6. And then starts to extend, and you can see at that position the arms haven't been flung off the chest quite as much, but then yours haven't been flung off the chest as much as they used to. So we are improving, we're moving in the right direction. We just want to get nearer and nearer to what you see here. You see there, that's absolutely nailed to the torso. Here we're just a little bit away from it. Another way of policing that is to hit some cut-off shots where we stop quick. I just want you to pay attention. A great position there at the top. Pay attention here to the differences in the through swing. So grant weight from the top. It's like the arms are always tracing what the body's doing. So there's no real throwing of the arms at the golf ball, should I say, from the top down. Just arms tracing a circle. With yourself, there's still a hint of I want to throw the arms at it. You see that there? It's just a look, it's just an observation more than anything, and an overall look at the swing. Like I say, massively, massively improved. You're certainly heading along the right lines. We've just got to keep adding more and more of the same pieces. Keep doing the same pieces, keep doing more of them, keep doing them for longer. It's a massively improved golf swing. Dip the eyes down a little bit at setup. Keep that right arm tight against the torso on the way through as well as on the way back. I really like the backswing now. I think you're there or thereabouts where you would want to be with that backswing long term anyway. It's mainly now from the backswing down, isn't it? We've got to get the transition a little bit better. The right shoulder drops underneath at that point rather than working down and around. Like we see with Charlie, the right shoulder's just getting back into flexion. I used to show you an image of Grant Waite versus Tiger with his driver. It's the same sort of scenario. It's just going to take a little bit of push or a little bit of overdraw off it. So when we're pushing it and overdrawing it, we're hitting out at the golf ball a little bit too much. Hit a few pulls. Focus on the hands, what path are the hands tracing on the way through, and I'm sure you're going to start to tighten that shot pattern up even more. Good luck with it. Obviously keep listening to your coach at college. He knows what he's talking about. See you soon, mate. Be good.